Okay, so I think we're live. So hi all, welcome to episode 25 of the All About FPL podcast or stream. Well, Gaming 25 is pretty much still ongoing. We have the last couple of games left to complete today, as well as I think we have three Premier League teams playing today in the FA Cup. Obviously, we know what's going to happen in terms of their fixtures, anyways, for Game Week 28. But other than that, we have a very more or less a big picture right in front of us, and that's what we are going to cover in this stream. That's obviously game week 26. What to do? Do we wildcard or not? Do we get in the Brentford Brighton players? That's more or less that has taken an important, what we can say, headline maker at this point, rather than looking at what game week 26 is going to be, rather than like let's use the chip. Let's see what we can do. Load up these players. This and that chip planning, everything. This that's overtaken a lot, right, guys? Over the last few days, people are not even looking at Gaming 26, but looking at the longer picture.
I mean, I'm not even looking at the ongoing game week 25. Right. We all went crazy. I think this is something that happens every season, right? Around the mid 20s, you have some sort of double game week, which looks very attractive. Last year it was the Watford, this year it is the Liverpool. And you go crazy all in and you take a lot of hits, and then you realize, hey, I've messed up my team. When can I use my wildcard? Right. This is the perfect time.
Exactly. Yeah. Like Sankalp told, we should not forget that this gaming is not yet over. We still have two games to go today, and we still have those players who we trusted and thought we'd return points. So far, been a disappointing week, but we'll see today. The gaming is not yet over, and we'll see today.
Yes, indeed. I mean, the irony is that people took in hits to get Liverpool players, and now they're going to wildcard and throw them out because they will not have a 28 because Fulham beat Leeds, and that especially the game against Liverpool is not going to be applying. And it's typical, helter skelter time at this point because people are just running here and there and like, okay, he's going to wildcard this week. Okay, that makes sense. Even I will wildcard, but I think it's rather looking at how your team is structured at the moment, whether you need to wildcard or not, is the most important question that people are not maybe answering and looking at.
Yeah.
Before we start, right, what do you think is the optimum, hits that one person can take without going for a wild card? Say over 2 weeks, over 3 weeks, right? How much would you take? I mean, for me, it's more like minus 12, perhaps. I did a minus 12 last week, so I don't think I can do it again. I would rather go for wild card. What is the hit, number of hits that you guys can take?
It depends because like minus 12 sounds huge, but it's not actually because you are getting in players who will have like 6 games over the next 4 game weeks. So which is a great number. They can easily make up for the point. There are nailed players who will have 6 games in the next 4 game weeks, and there will be players who will you are bringing a player who will have just 3 games over the next 4 game weeks, and another player will have 6. So that's a 3 match difference. So it's worth a minus 4 or -8. So I think a minus 12 is there is no optimal number as such. Even a -16 can work perhaps. Like if wildcard is already used or they plan to save the team is in a total mess and they still want to use the wildcard on game week 33, 34. So I don't think there's a particular number, but yeah,
What number will you be comfortable with, before you go for a wild card?
-8. I'm comfortable with the -8, going for a -8. Yeah. -12 is little scary, seeing the double digit, and if it happens like a week like this week, when when at
Yeah,
some point I saw people's scores were like -1, so I don't want to see that.
Makes sense. Aditya?
yeah, I kind of agree with you here. Even I took a -8 this week. Yeah, I think the human psychology is that as soon as you see a double digit, you kind of get scared. That's what puts off more people. But more or less, there are numerous occasions over the last few seasons where we've seen that -12, -16 has done wonders to people where they've managed to get a net of maybe plus 10, 12 points more. So if you get in the right players from the right teams at the right time, it will pay off. But that right is the big question. We don't know when is the
Magical
right time.
words by Aditya. Right time, right place, right place. So yeah.
So more or less that's the thing. So these are the talking points that we're going to cover. Basically, we're going to look at game week 26 and 9. In between these couple of game weeks, when would be the ideal time to wildcard, free hit, bench boost, and all those other things, or whether we would need to probably save few of the chips for the last leg of the season. Then we will look at Brighton midfielders, obviously, since they have a double in 27. And the three M's basically that's floating around: Mitoma, March, and Mac Allister. Then obviously we will look at Game Week 26 wildcard drafts, the pros and cons, whether you would need to consider wildcarding solely based on your team structure and maybe the players, or we'll also cover a bit on the chip strategy, what would be the ideal option at this point. Mind you, there's still few FA Cup games left that will help us for game week 32, I guess, based on the draw what we get now. And so we need to wait and see. That's based on tonight's game. I think that's after the Spurs game, so we need to wait
Yeah.
and see. Then obviously we could discuss briefly on the captaincy options over the next few weeks, because there are different options available other than Haaland, and answering your questions in first teams. So these are the talking points. So let's just get straight away up to game week 26 to 34, the longer run. And I think I'll hand it over to Sri to walk us through the next few slides.
So this is what we have at the moment right now. So not even at the moment, we have everything till game week 31 confirmed, barring a single game, which is more likely to go as a predicted result. So I think this is the time where we should plan our teams, how we are going to set up our teams, how we are going to use the chip strategy from game week 26 to game week 29. Because these are these 4 weeks where there will be big hits, doubles, blanks, everything is there. So you should have your strategy in hand before this week's deadline, which is 2 days. We have 2.5 days to set our team. So, like just to credits to Ben Crane for this amazing picture ticker, which makes all our lives easier. So I'll just walk you through the doubles and blanks upcoming. So game week 26 this week will be a single game week where all the teams will play, and then game week 27 is the week where there will be 4 teams doubling: Brighton, Brentford, Palace, and Southampton. So Brighton have a good double, Leeds and Palace, and Brentford have another good double like Everton, Southampton. So those 4 teams are the worst defensive teams like Leeds, Palace, Everton, and Southampton. And Brighton and Brentford assets are in really good form, like attack wise and even defense wise. So I think it's fair to attack this game week. So game week 28 will be the next week, which is a blank game week. So far just 6 fixtures are being confirmed for game week 28, and other teams are blank. Like 12 teams are playing and 8 teams will be blanking. So barring a fixture in FA Cup tonight, so if Spurs lose to Sheffield, or if Spurs lose to Sheffield and Southampton needs to lose to Grimsby Town. If those both happens, which is very unlikely, then we'll have another fixture in game week 28. So it's like 98% confirmed that 90 to 95% confirmed that we'll be having big blank game week 28, where there will be 12 teams playing and 8 teams blanking. Previously, it was feared that there will be just 4 fixtures and 8 teams playing. But credits to Leicester, thanks to Leicester yesterday, that we have our good FPL assets like Leicester assets and Brentford assets to cover up for game week 28. So game week 28 will be where 12 teams will be playing. So game week 29 will be the biggest double game week of the season. So it will be the game week where 12 teams double. Most of the big teams like United, Newcastle, Arsenal, like not Arsenal, but other teams are doubling. So 12 teams doubling, it will be the biggest double game week of the season, potentially a bench boost using game week. So these 4 weeks are very crucial. And just to round it up till the end of the season, like game week 32 will be a blank game week, which is likely to be another big blank game week. For that, we should know more from the FA Cup draw, which comes out after this first game today. So we'll have the permutations and combinations after the draw today, like who will be facing whom, and if they lose to whom, who all will be blanking. But as far as we have right now, there are 4 fixtures confirmed for game week 32, no matter what, and 8 teams like Brentford, Villa, Palace, Liverpool, Leicester are surely not going to blank in game week 32. That's the information we have in hand right now. So it is a critical period. Like people who don't have a wild card should look at teams who will double in 27. There are teams who double in 27, don't blank in 28, and also double in 29. Or the teams who don't blank in 28, 32, and also double in 29. So this is the potentially path-breaking time of the season where you should focus on your chip strategies. So yeah, so after game week 32 will be the another blank game week due to the FA Cup semi-finals as mentioned, and after that there will be 2 smaller doubles like Game Week 34 and Game Week 37. So Game Week 34 and Game Week 37 doubles will be the teams who are blanking in Game Week 28 and 32. Those postponements will be rescheduled in Game Week 32. Like it will be postponements on 28 and 32 will be rescheduled in 34 and 37. So that we will know, that we may know before the Game Week 29 deadline or after the Game Week 29 deadline. We are not yet sure of it. But regarding the Game Week 28 blanks, we'll know it by tonight after this first game. So that's all the information we have in hand. This is put up in a slide. Basically, what I have mentioned right now is being, these are the information which we have in hand right now.
Yeah. So if you go back to the last slide, right? I think looking at the fixtures, one thing I understand, you have to give up on some game week, right? You cannot take all the game weeks. I mean, you can plan the best to optimize, your strategy of movement of assets from one team to another, one team to another, and take hits along the way, right? Obviously, a wildcard now will help you a lot in reducing the number of hits. But if you are not, taking any hits, if you're very comfortable in 28, most probably you'll not be as comfortable in 32, right? Unless you start moving again from 30 onwards, right? Purely on fixtures, which does not is not always the right, approach, right? So there's one game week which are going to mess up, and the idea is you choose now which is the game week that you're comfortable, giving up a bit, right? Playing with 10, playing with 9, which is that game week, and then you take a call, right? Also, like you said, I think I agree a lot. This is that time of the year where that differences starts showing up, right? Now the ranks are very tight, right? 4 5 points, I think, covers you like
Yeah.
50K, 60K, right? And this is the time when your planning, your strategy can help differentiate, because this is when people start, that gap starts increasing slowly and slowly in the time of double and blank giving. So while obviously this risk element, but that risk has a high reward when it comes to the ranks. At least it's something that I've seen last year as well. Right? And I understand one thing. I understand from a wildcard point of view why people want a wildcard. There's a summary that you see on the right side, right? Three teams that we are now docked up on, loaded up on, is Liverpool, Arsenal, City. Arsenal, City, we have always been right. Most of us have around 5 assets from them, right?
Yeah.
And Liverpool is the team that we took up. The game in 25, we went hardcore. Some got two, some got three. So we have like 7 to 8 teams, 7 to 8 players in our squad currently.
Please.
They're all looking on the negative because either they have blanks in 28, right, in 32, or they don't have a strong double game week. They have single game weeks. Arsenal and City have single game week in 29, right? And look at the upside, right? If you look at teams like Villa, Brentford, like just like Sydney said, right? These are good teams. They have fixtures all along the way. So it's just the point of whether 6 versus 4 will come out in your favor, right? Sometimes it doesn't, right? So you have to be slightly careful, but that upside is what we are chasing from this potential wildcard discussion, right?
Exactly, and that is the upside also to chase. Not like last season or some other season, we're not focusing on Watford players. We're focusing on generally good players from Brighton and Brentford, who are like Brighton are among the top 5 attacking teams in the league post restart, and Brentford are among the top 5 defensive teams post restart. The numbers are also there, and there are also quality sides like Brighton are pushing for Europe. So it is where you can chase the upside, and we can catch up the points.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, so I mean, Villa, Brentford. We have a couple of things to discuss over the next few slides. And one thing is Chelsea, and Chelsea's form at the moment. We all know how they're playing, and they're really struggling. And we need to see how teams perform. Obviously, we have Champions League games coming up. Again, the last legs are left, and obviously European competitions are going to affect the way teams prioritize which games they need to focus on. While we will see some teams playing well in the league, obviously Arsenal have to play well in the league. There is no option for them. This is the chance. It's like now or never. For City, more or less, yes, City will also try to attack, but obviously we have a City fan here, and obviously the dream for Pep would be to go after the UCL. So all the top four teams, arguably the top six teams, have different ambitions. I think that slowly, I think after, I think the next round of FA Cup, we will come to know exactly who wants to go for what. So
I, I, this is one of the reasons people do not like to go for latter wildcards, right? Wildcard keeping it late is because teams later in the season, right, they start taking that decision, right? So someone like City, they would, if they are doing really well in Champions League, they are going to take those calls. They are going to rest or bench or rotate your favorite asset, right? And that will make things very difficult for you if you are keeping your chips for later. I mean, it's just a con, right? That's one thing that you also have to keep in mind, that uh, different teams will have different ambitions and they will take decisions accordingly. For example, I think United, if they reach towards Europa semis, right? Semis, finals, quarterfinals, right? That's when they'll also start taking. I'm sure Return Hag cannot keep running Rashford a lot. At some point of time, he would be like, "Hey, let me rest him for a week here. I think my lads are doing well either way, right?" So those things also, if you are going heavy early, you might be able to escape out of those kind of decisions.
Yeah, yeah, agree. So, like, from your perspective, like, who are all the teams you are going to target for the next 4 weeks? Like, I personally think it's in the order of Brighton, Brentford, and Aston Villa, and then Leicester. Like, it's Aston Villa means it's Watkins, and Leicester means it's Madison. But so yeah, this is the four teams. As you can see from the slide we have, like Brighton are going to have two doubles and don't blank in like 20, they blank in 28. Like Brentford are having two doubles in 27, 29, and don't blank in 28 and 32 also. So yeah, so they are the team to target. And Brighton double in 27, 29, but they blank in 28. But and again they're most likely to blank in 32 as well. So yeah, these are the teams to target. And then Leicester is another. Thanks to yesterday's loss, they also have a good run of fixtures, or uh, they have a they have a slight run where you can target Madison or even Henacho for that run. They don't. They have a surely have a game in 28 and 32, and also have a good double in 29.
Yeah, yeah. Of these, I think one good thing is we have Newcastle in this group, right? Newcastle is a team that is looking to go into the Champions League next year. They are very close to top four, so at least bankable assets or top performance, right? And that's where we would be happily able to target, right? And like you said, Sini, I think you can look at which other teams are there for attack, which are the teams there for defense, right? Brentford and Newcastle for me in this seven teams list stand out for their defense. Right, either you go heavy on them, have two assets each, or one or two assets each, but you can have more representation from these teams and comfortably so because both the inherent metrics, both the number of clean sheets, they have been doing well, over the entire season, I would say. Right. Similarly, Leicester, good attacking team, but like we saw, yeah, the way they lost in FA Cup as well. It's very difficult to trust Leicester. High upside moves. I love Madison as a player. Whenever he's on form, he gives you points, right? He's like Kane. If he's on form, he'll keep on giving you points, right? Till he loses that form, right? So always a guy to pick up at the right moment. If you do that, so good to have. And I love Nacho as a pick. I'm glad you mentioned Nacho because when we talk of Brentford, we cannot miss the name of Ivan Toney, right? The guy is doing so well, but we came to know that he has also acknowledged some of the charges against him by FA on betting. While there is still some time, we are told that before he goes out, before FA takes a call at least. But you would always want an exit strategy, right? Out of Ivan Toney. And I think with Nacho, we have that perfect exit strategy. Either you take
And
Ivan and then, yeah. Yes, Sunil, you were saying something.
yeah, so it's like what are your thoughts on Ivan Toney? Ivan Toney is on 8 yellow cards. He may get banned anytime due to the betting charges. Like the latest we have is that he has time to respond and he'll be safe. Like he's likely to be safe for the next few weeks at least. So you are going to punt him for the next 2 3 weeks, or not going to take the risk and go for the Watkins or Felix or Iheanacho route. Like, what are your thoughts on Tony? My personal thoughts on even Tony is, even I'm going to get him, surely going to get him this week, even if he is going to get banned or not, because they have the fixture of Fulham this week without Palhinha, and I think Palhinha is a big miss for Fulham. Like, we did put out a thread on all about FPL about like how he'll be a big miss. Like, Palhinha is the leading for tackles and successful tackles in the whole of Europe, and he is more important to the Fulham system than Tony. So he will be a big miss, and I think that is this is the time to attack with Tony. Then he has the good double game week, and then he has a fixture in versus Leicester also. Leicester, like you mentioned, we just talked about Leicester. Leicester, I was just going through the Leicester stats, and they don't have clean sheet since the World Cup. In fact, they have conceded the most goals since the World Cup break. So attacking wise they are good, but defense wise they concede 3, 4, and Brentford are a side who love to attack every time. So it is always there. And like Ivan Tony, like we were telling, the next fixtures are then the blank gaming he has Leicester. Before that he has a good double in Leeds and Palace. Again, we need not tell more about how poor defensively Leeds and Palace are. So I think I'll have him till he is not suspended or he is not found fully guilty and banned. So that's my thoughts. Like, what are you guys planning on Tony? You guys already have him or planning to get him?
Uh, uh, it's just a feeling, right? That when you go for risky punts like this season, right, it has always backfired, right? You go for Mitrovic and he gets that fifth yellow card and he misses out in a double game week. You go for Darwin Nunes, having seen him play against Real Madrid, and then you see suddenly this guy not play, right? So in my heart, in my gut says don't go, don't go, don't go, right? It looks very attractive. It looks too good to be true, and those backside, right, eight yellow cards and a possible ban, right? That tells me just don't go there, because we have enough. I mean, if you ask me today, if Spurs move out, obviously you have to move out of Kane as well, right? In spite of the fact that he's trickling in, right? Haaland, we are not going to captain. Now you have to ask yourself, should I go Haaland or not? If I'm not going to captain, hey, and this is a wild card, maybe I can go crazy, right? If I'm not going with these assets, then I have a definite place for someone like Ivan Tony. But if I'm still retaining someone like Haaland, right, and if I'm going with someone like Watkins, who's fairly comfortable, who looks on better form, in fact, compared to Ivan Tony, I might, I might, just not go there and hope and pray that he gets his two yellows early.
Yeah, I mean, even I'm kind of the similar boat. Like I've to be honest, I've really not given time to think on these things at the moment, because more or less people will start to make decisions post the game today. Obviously, the couple of Premier League games and obviously the FA Cup games will give people enough information to decide, okay, who's playing well and who's not playing at this point. But obviously, I think I'm more or less inching towards Watkins rather than Tony. But the only immediate advantage is that they have a double in 27, while I think Watkins will have a double only in 29. So that's the only thing you'll probably look at, and that would be the only probably persuasion at this point for you to go for Tony rather than Watkins. Probably just to attack the shorter spell.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That
I do also
short-term
agree.
upside is what sells Ivan Tony for us, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like the short term, like have him till he gives you returns or he's banned, then go to somewhere else. Like Watkins is equally good, but my thought is like I want to have both in my teams as soon as possible. Be it this week or before game week 27, and then even remove them after game week 28. Like if there are if we have better players there, like Iheanacho for the game week 29 double, he has two good fixtures. We can see then, and but we know what we have in right now, so attack is my thought.
Yeah. And what are the thoughts for the second batch of teams that we mentioned? Right, don't blank in 28, and don't double as well. Right, we had teams like Arsenal. Right, now we are heavy on Arsenal. What's your plan on teams like Arsenal, City? It's rational, at least we know plays in 28 as well, right? One player, two player, what do you want to do?
On wildcard or just with the transfers? Like with the
On
transfers,
white,
I am on
on white.
triple ask. On wildcard, I'll surely have Saka because he's like a must one right now. And NKTR, we can't afford to go on wildcard. It's just a 1 week punt for now because we have better strikers with better doubles coming up. So, uh, and NKTR has not been delivering the points also. So if I don't have the wildcard, I'll play him this week, just this week, and then move elsewhere. But if on a wildcard, I'll not go for NKTR. Saka is a must one, and I'll go for Odegaard just for this Bournemouth game and the game week 28 blank, and then switch the Odegaard to someone else. Like Odegaard hasn't written much in the last 6 games, but I still feel that these are the games where he could return and there is still potential because and then move to Brighton midfielder in game week 29.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Perfect.
So
So yeah,
now we are looking at the next set of teams. Yes, Srini, go ahead.
these are the 7 teams who we know that we don't blank in 28 and have a double in 29. Like we discussed, like Brentford and Brighton, we have discussed in detail. What are your thoughts on Estupinan? Like he is injured at the moment. Estupinan and March missed the FA Cup game due to injuries. But I think if he is fit, Estupinan should be on top of our radar. Like Brighton are slightly leaky defensively. Like they just have like 2 clean sheets from the last 12 games, and they are more attacking since Disabri. But Estupinan is not just a defender to me. Like he is capable of bonus. He has 3 assists in the last 5 games, and there is always attacking potential. He should be on top of everyone's list come game week 26 or 27 if he is fit.
Correct, correct. The my only thought is, both these two players who are injured, right? They would be high on our radar, right? So try and take as much news as you can about these injuries before you jump in, right? You do not want to, make a wildcard draft only for you to find out suddenly one or two players are injured, right? It scuppers up your plans heavily. But so I would try and wait and see how much news I can get about when these guys will be back. If we see them training, if we hear from the Brentford uh, reporters that these guys look good, definitely. I think Estonian, like you said, looks really really strong attacking wise. But again, one thing that I've always noticed, teams when they don't do well defensively, right, the defensive assets struggle, right? We saw with Liverpool as well, guys like Trent are, as well, they struggle because you are really hoping that they give you assist every week for you to get those 6 to 7 points, right, without that clean sheet, right? If there's no clean sheet at the beginning of the ad to support that assist, then that upside is really low, right? So I'll be a bit worried there. I would rather want teams who are pretty strong in defense. For example, like I said, Newcastle and Brentford, right? I would trust them. I would go there and know that these guys will take those clean sheets and get one or two bonus points there as well, right? So that is all. That has always been my preference: defensive assets, right? Look for those clean sheets and then see who can give you that additional extra, not the reverse.
Yeah, agree. And like outside Tony, who do you think are the Brentford assets to focus on? Like we have discussed in detail about Tony just now. Other than Tony, like who are you thinking we should be on our thoughts in the coming weeks?
I think because we have been so popular on the Kepa thing, right? And now we have seen consistently that Chelsea are not looking that good defensively. They are also looking very poor attacking wise. So I think the impetus is on Potter to focus on attack now. Right? He would try and score goals, and that means that they are
He'll play
always going to be open. Yeah, that means that they are always going to be open to concede, right? So that makes Raya a very strong replacement for me. I have a problem in Kepa, I move to Raya, right? That's why he's on top of my list. Ben Mee is a very strong asset, can do something from corners, etc. But at the end of the day, he gets those bonus points as well because of clearances, because of tackles, right? So he will be a bit higher on BP side. I'll think a bit about going double on Brentford, but my top two assets are these two, right? If we know that Tony is someone who might not play for long, but I mean, we now get an idea. We have now got an idea that he's there for the World Game Week, right? With that, I think we'll all start with Tony, right? And then couple it with Raya and me. I'm not very sure about Pinnock, Mbuemo, because these are assets who I'm not very confident of, right? Because currently, when you are playing with I think when we look at your wildcard drafts, right, we all have money to play with, right? We are letting go of all those high premium assets. We are going to the smaller teams, so we have money to play with. We have more than 11 players who can play. So I'll always be worried, should I play Mbuemo even if, and will he always start, what does, if it's only a 2 point, what's the point, what's the point of going there, right? So that thing will always be in my mind, in spite of the fact that he has a double game.
Yeah, yeah. Another thing to note about the if you already have Kepa, if you're planning on a game with 29 bench boost, we should note that like Kepa and Raya do rotate well. Like on a game week 26 wildcard, you can go for Kepa and Raya because like game week 26, Chelsea have Leeds home, which you can play Kepa. Then Brentford for the double, Everton and Southampton double. Then again Chelsea for the Everton home game in the game week 28 blank, and then again Kepa for the game week 29 double. So it is quite sorted. Like and 32 also you are covered with Raya. So on a bench boost, I think it is a good combination to have both Kepa and Raya. And on a bench boost, this is also another combination to ponder upon. Like we can have Ward also along with Raya.
Correct, correct. I would rather play Raya in all the matches, but I would bench boost using Kepa.
Yeah, yeah. One more question, Sankalp. Just that we discussed about forwards right now. I think like would you do the NKTR to Tony transfer for game week 26 because NKTR is up against Bournemouth home and Tony against Fulham. So what do you think?
I mean, with these moves, right, it's easy. You look at the
Not on a
long
wild
term.
card, on a free transfer.
uh, on a long term thing, this looks perfect, right? Because we know Jesus is back in training, right? So Eddie, if he plays today, I don't think he'll play the Bournemouth one. If he does not play today, Arteta has already said he will rotate a bit for the Bournemouth match. So then it makes sense for me to wait. But if I can make a move for Tony, I would, and I know that Tony is there for next 4 to 5 fixtures at max. I would rather do that move early and try and gain the max that I can get from Tony before I sell him again. Right? I would do that move early.
Okay. Yeah, and for those teams, like I was going through, who are these other players? Like from anyone interested from Forest or Bournemouth from this list of teams? Like we have discussed everyone, and I don't know, like Forest, we have Gibbs White, and from Bournemouth we have Solanke. Surprisingly, I was going through Solanke's numbers, and his numbers have been quite good. Like for a 5.5 striker, he has like 10 returns from 18, 17 games this season. So which is very decent, and their fixture run is also good. They are up against. Let me go through the fixtures. Like they are up against Liverpool, Villa, Fulham, Brighton, and Leicester. Like yeah, so Liverpool and Villa are top two for big chances conceded since the World Cup. So I think there are the fixtures for Solanke. And if Bournemouth score, like Solanke is more likely to be involved. And they are fighting relegation. So they are desperate for goals. So
And I
if
think they're playing well also. Something that we have seen even in the City match. I think they're playing well, right? Suddenly, obviously, once City started, they started, but they started off well. So I think Bournemouth are playing as a good, solid team. In fact, the fixtures, I know some of us are targeting Bournemouth in the fixtures. Bournemouth away is no longer a easy match to play. It's something that I've noticed. Teams going there, they are not having an easy time playing there. And I would be open to that move as my third forward for me to give an option at least. Not everyone wants to take for example, if I don't have a risk appetite with Tony, right, knowing that that guy is going away in 3 4 weeks, I'll go with Haaland and Watkins, and I'll go with Solanke as my third forward, knowing that that guy plays for sure, knowing that he'll play 90 minutes, and like you said, he will be involved in some way or the other. He's almost a talisman for them, right? So I'm fairly comfortable taking those kind of risks, right? Knowing that that guy plays more over the long term.
yeah, not necessarily we're suggesting like pick Solanke over the likes of Watkins and Tony. But if your team wants that, he's not at all a bad option. He's good to go at 5.5 million.
Correct. So Aditya,
Okay, then.
what
So
tell us a
yes,
bit
yes, Saka.
about. Where would
Yeah.
you want to?
So I mean, like with pretty much, I'm kind of I agree with most of the things that we discuss at this moment. Obviously, Brentford is the team that people will look to attack, and Tony is obviously. But I think there will be a lot of us who will try to maybe ship Darwin out for Tony this week on a transfer and keep in Eddie also. We don't know, but again, rotations and congestion is something where we are not like we don't know who's going to be benched at what point. And managers have become very smart. They even in their pre-match interviews and all, they don't reveal anything nowadays. They just keep what they call a poker face. Like let's say yeah, everybody is fit, everybody is trained. Boom, somebody's not there with the squad. The deadline has already passed. So I think we've all got played a lot this season. But with regards to Tony, we have already got a few updated information as we just said. Probably I think till about April we still have he has time to I think appear, and so for the next few weeks he's fine. But obviously he's on a suspension tightrope. But yeah, Tony and Raya are obviously the two good picks. And as we said, Gibbs White from Forest. I mean nobody's going to go there unless they're desperate to get a player from that spot. But obviously he's the one who's been playing well so far for them in the last few weeks. Same goes with Solanke, as you said, right? Out of what 18 appearances, 10 returns or something. So that's a decent number for a forward for 5.5, right? I think what are you asking more at that price bracket? So
One interesting question that I saw, I think Percival has asked this question. Interesting thought. Would you get Tony in Game Week 27 if he gets booked versus Fulham in Game Week 26? Right. So if you're delaying this move by 1 week, right, this something like this happens, and then you have to ask yourself, are you going to take that risk? If he's on 8 yellow cards, decision still becomes a bit easier if he's there on 9, right? Are you willing to take that risk knowing that he's there for another 4 5 weeks? I won't. I know I won't.
Yeah, I'm willing to take that risk. Yeah.
okay, I think
So
if we've covered this, let's look at the next slide. What we have. So obviously we have the pros
like
and cons for
just
Gaming
before going
26 World
to
Cup.
the card, just to summarize the players to target, like who are on your priority list? For me, it's
Okay,
Tony,
so
Brighton mid, and then Watkins or someone else. So who? That's my priority list for me. Like what's your priority list?
If I'm not wildcarding, I would start with the Brighton midfielders. It's so tricky knowing what is the who's the correct answer, right? Either if I knew who's the correct answer, I would definitely start with that guy. What helps with Brentford is Tony is the end product. He's the end guy, right? You go there, you wait for 4 5 weeks, he scores in 1 game week for sure, and a mega one, right? That helps. With Brighton, you do not know that. They keep changing the strategy, and this is something that we have yet to talk in detail. But Brighton keep changing their tactics a bit, right? Over the last 2 3 matches, we saw Mac Allister coming up so forward, playing in a different role altogether. And then we saw in the FA Cup match, it changed altogether because Welbeck came into picture, right? So they have a lot of players getting fit. The manager is someone who's very well known tactically, right? He takes his time and he makes his calls as per the opposition. So one thing that's going to make things very difficult for us is to identify who's the right Brighton asset, especially in moves like this, right, where your entire wildcard success depends on 4 game weeks, right? It's just 4 game weeks where e- either you fly out and create a difference of say 30 40 points and you are like really happy, or you don't. And something like this can really change the way you see your Brighton your wildcard being successful.
Agreed. Yeah. Aditya, who's on your priority list? Top transfers if you are on a wild card this if you're not on a wild card this week, not trying to say the wild card for say 29 or 34.
yeah, I mean obviously they immediately you look at as Gimmick 27, and obviously you're going to target Brighton, Brentford probably out of the four sides, the two teams that are decent in terms of form, and I mean the return of points is more obvious there. So obviously Tony is going to be locked in, and then I think as you discussed, right, we don't know who to go for. I would probably just maybe side with Mitoma here. Obviously, the entire crowd is going to follow one way. So we'll see. But obviously, Mac Allister's numbers have been good over the last few weeks, but we don't know where he's going to end up playing, whether he's going to play in the middle or whether he's going to play behind. That's something we are not sure. So probably Mitoma. And I think Watkins has been playing well. His numbers also have been better. So I think these three would be the players. Obviously, Watkins will have a double in 29, but still, if you play a front three formation, then I think you could get away with Haaland, Tony, and Watkins maybe over the next few weeks, just based on
That
their
will be the
form.
template front three, yeah, for the coming weeks. Yeah, Haaland, Toney, and Watkins. Yeah.
So next, pros and cons of obviously the wildcard. That's what people are going to look at this point, whether they need to do or not. And
So
obviously that's what we've been discussing, right? Brighton and Brentford is probably the only way to go big if you're on a wild card, and obviously you'll get an excuse not an opportunity to get rid of the Liverpool assets. We'll see how they play. Well, hopefully those who got -8, -12 for triple Liverpool, at least something goes in our way finally today. Tonight.
Yeah,
that's what
I
makes
don't.
it tricky, right? What if many have Salah, captain, Nunes, and Trent? So what happens like if Liverpool win 3-0 and Salah gets like 20 with captain and Nunes get 8 points and Trent gets 12 points? What do you do with them? Will you still be wild carding or that's the tricky question, right?
I don't think I will, right? Because again, we are looking at glimpses of Liverpool doing well, and that's got us sucked into this, taking hits, right? -4, -8, -12, etc. Right? So if we see that glimpse actually, coming well, and your prediction doing well, I would rather stick to players with Arsenal and the Liverpool, right? And hope that everyone goes for Brentford, Brighton, some surprise results come in, right? With smaller teams, you never know. And with Liverpool, we have a Bournemouth match there upcoming, right? I remember last time Liverpool played Bournemouth, there was a crazy score of 9-0, right?
And Salah at 9.
But Salah did not return. But Salah did not return. They
Yeah.
have won 9-0, right? Uh, United and Liverpool would be an interesting match because I expect it to be a high scoring match, right? So I'm fairly comfortable seeing, playing both Rashford as well as Gapco as well as Shaw as well as Trent, right? Maybe, it will be difficult for me to, bench one of Trent and Shaw. If I have both, I'll play them and hope that both give us attacking returns, right? So uh, that is one reason if Liverpool do well today, right? The entire attraction of wildcard would go down for me. Then it will be like, hey, last week I was not sure of a wildcard. I was like, if I get Liverpool, I will be through. And suddenly Liverpool are doing well. Why? What is the rush, right? Yeah, I know it's good to get those extra fixtures, but then at the end of the day, these are extra fixtures of mid teams, right? Maybe I can ignore. So I think a few more wildcarders will come down.
Yeah, and the thing with like we are playing the wild card to attack the game week 27 and to clear our game week 26 baggage. The likes of Liverpool assets and the NKT who we don't want on the longer run. So the thing is like I think personally I would wait for the press conference because like you mentioned before the injury news of March and Estupinan is also a big thing. And the latest regarding Tony, what all we have before the deadline, what are all the information we have before the deadline. That's a big swing for me because I don't want to get Tony, Esteban, and March on wild card and not see them getting those doubles. Like they are not being available for the doubles. That would be a nightmare. So I think that's the advantage of playing it in game week 27, where we will have more and more information. With this game week passing by, we'll have more information and the safer play. But
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
go for game week 26, and if Liverpool lose to Wolves 2-0 today, game week 26 suddenly makes lot more sense. You can get the Liverpool triple up out and NKT out, like everyone, and attack the game week 27 to 29 stretch.
Correct. True. Very true. But the only reason 27 would be difficult for you to do is that Liverpool play Bournemouth, Arsenal go Fulham away, where like we mentioned, Fulham has a strong defensive midfielder now out of the game, right? You have United playing Southampton at home, but they blank the next week immediately, right? So those decisions that you have to take, you'll be forced to take, will make Game Week 27 a bit difficult for us.
Yeah, agreed. So it's totally team dependent. Those magical words like it is. If you want a wild card in game week 26 or 27 or later, it's totally team dependent, and the information which we have before the deadline. But since like, but in general, like nothing against game week 26 wildcard because it is a good strategy and it helps you cover game week 26 to 29, and also possibly for the game week 32 blank, so that you can save the free hit for the game week 32 or even for the 34 or 37 doubles. So it is a very sound strategy.
Yes, I mean even last season we kind of there were a lot of managers, including me, who went aggressive at this point. I think it was the time we got in Coutinho, and it
28.
just massively backfired. He just kept on blanking 2 pointers, 1 pointers, 2 pointers, 1 pointers. So and it went off the rails for most of us. But obviously the thinking that you, I mean, the process you follow, the thinking, the way you structure, everything matters. And now that we are back to the way football is played in terms of the congestion, the calendars, and now obviously past few seasons, was completely COVID ridden, and we had a lot of unexpected postponements. But now it's back to the typical 32 blank. So previously we used to free hit always for 32, and then always wildcard in 33, 34, attack those doubles, or some used to free hit in 38 or 37. So all those here and there we have those things. But now with these extra, I mean, we don't usually get a lot of doubles, but we've actually got one in 29, which is some sort, I think, one of the biggest doubles now, and then we'll have one later, maybe of the same size. So it's just for us to pick and choose to see which one is better. But obviously people would obviously look at what is right in front of them, and that's obviously game week 29. And seeing the crowd on Twitter and the managers and the bubble that we are all part of is going to probably sway us, most of us at least, wildcarding either this week or wildcarding close to 29, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, so we just made a like if you guys are planning on the game week 26 wildcard, we just made a rough draft on who are all the, like we discussed the teams and players to target. We just made a rough draft and how the team will look in 28 and the double in 29, so that you can attack these 4 weeks with the wildcard draft. So I'll just quickly read out the draft. We have like 6.9 million in the bank. Raya in goal, James. Reece James is a pick which we have put to cover on the Chelsea defense. Like we know, Silva is out, and there are still Badiashile is a decent pick, but there are still two, three center backs fighting for the two center back slots. Like Fofana is back, and then Koulibaly is also there. So we have put in James, or even Chilwell is a good shout. So yeah, James. We have Raya in goal. James, me, Trippier, Estupinan. Uh, yeah, Estupinan and Minks. Those are the 5 defenders on wildcard. In midfield, we have Odegaard, March, if fit, or else it will be Mac Allister, Saka, Mitoma, Rashford. In forward line, we have Watkins, Haaland, and Iheanacho. Again, like Iheanacho or Tony is how you want to approach, how you play the game. It is up to you to take that call, like Iheanacho or Tony, because if you want to go risk free, Iheanacho is a good shout. There is still upside with Iheanacho. He's also still fairly good and it's a good differential. But Tony, many will be, he's already going to be close to 30% manage, and most people will be transferring him. So it's up to you to decide. And this draft, like how it will look for the game week 27 double. Can you move to the next slide, Aditya? Like without doing a transfer, like the plan is to roll the transfer, and we'll still have 5 doublers, 3 doublers from Brighton and 2 doublers from Brentford for this game week 27 double. So five is a good number, right? So this is, and by rolling the transfer to target the blank game week. For game week 28, the plan is to use one free transfer, like do the March to Madison move to attack the, like, because Leicester are a team to attack from game week 28, and they have like Brentford, and they have a good double in 29 also. So I think Madison to March is a good move. for game week 28. That's the transfer plan, and rolling the other transfer. By doing that, we'll still have like 10 players for the blank game week, which is a solid number. I think that will help you to catch up the ranks. For game week 29, the plan is we'll have two free transfers to do Saka to March, and then Odegaard to Bruno, and then bench boost. So this is the rough plan we have. Like uh, again, getting back a Brighton midfielder for the game week 29, and removing Saka is totally up to you, because Saka is still a good single game week player. He has a good fixture in game week 29. Saka is up, I think, against Leeds or Fulham in game week 29, and it is difficult to ignore. Yeah, yeah. So and how, like, if you do that, it will still be if you still make the Saka move, you using the two free transfers, you still have 13 doublers, and then Haaland and Saka for the game week 29 doubles. You can use the bench boost, which will be, so you can fairly attack these 4 game weeks, and you can confidently tell that you will be up with the green arrow by the end of game week 29. But after that, how you are going to manage will be the thing. If you don't have any chips left, or you just have the free hit left, and going by this draft, this team is well covered for the game week 32 double also. From the information we have right now, there are 4 fixtures confirmed for game week 32, and from these teams we already have like 1, 2, 3, 4, like 6, 7 players from these doubles. Yeah, from the blank game week. Yeah, 7 players is already there, and we'll have the stretch of 30, 31, and 32 to get 10 or 11 players for the game week 32. So even if you just have the wild card left, game week and no free hit, no bench boost, nothing, still game week 26 is a good show. So these are the merits. Like, it can cover you up to the game week 34 stretch, and game week 34 is when the doubles happen, 34 and 37, and you will know the information beforehand. Like, we may get the information even before game week 29 deadline, so you can plan for the game week 34, 37 doubles also. So by all means, I love this strategy, and I think even though I don't want a wild card, seeing this really tempts me. Like, what are your thoughts on this draft, please? Like,
I really like a wildcard that gets on a plan, right? Like you said, you have a plan here from a game week 26 up to game week 29 and 32. You know what is the end result, right? So 29 to 32 also there is a sort of a plan, right? How you will navigate and where what you want to do, we know, right? That is something that I like. Apart from that, generally, one thing that I like to do in my wildcard is have 5 to 6, different kind of players, right? That gives me the upside, right? So against a person who's not going on a wild card, like say I'm not going on a wild card, and you are then on there on wild card in game week 29, for sure you will have James additional, right? Because I would not have gone James. I would have picked between me and James, and mostly I would have gone with Ben Me, right? I would not have gone Mings, right? So you have two defenders with 2 fixtures additional. Uh, Ideally, I would have gone with two of the Brighton assets. You will have one Brighton asset additional, right? And similarly, I think up forward you will have one player. I might go Nacho by taking hits, or I might go Watkins, right? So somewhere or the other you will be getting gains, right? So I think you will get 5 or 6 good gains out of it, right? Which, if works, gives you a really really strong advantage. So I think the core principles of a wildcard is always how can you move out of a stream, right? So currently we are all in a Liverpool Arsenal City stream, and this gives you a very good way to move out to a different stream altogether with good fixtures and attack, right? My only worry here is what happens post 32, right? Because from 29 to 31, I will use my transfers to target 32 again because I have only 6, right? When it goes to 34, and 34 is when most of the big teams are doubling, right? I think I've moved out of most of the big teams here in 32, right? And if I've used my free hit, right, and 32, I am not free hitting, then what is the plan? Do you want to use 34 as a free hit, Ashwini?
yeah, the 34 is a good place to free it, but like you told, most big teams will be doubling there. So I think that the ploy would be to take a big hit there, -8 or -12, to get the big players. Either, like you mentioned in the start of the stream, either you attack here and take the hits here, or manage here and then wildcard there, or if you wildcard here and then attack with the hits there. I think by that time we'll have more knowledge on who is there in UCL, which teams are chasing for the title, who have something to play for, who don't have something to play for, who are actually good, and this is the stretch where we'll have towards the end of the season. We'll have few players like suddenly like Ihanacho, Madison, those kind of players like those popular picks popping up, and he'll be suddenly on everyone's teams. We can catch those bandwagons at that time. So I think I those times with the hit if I wild card. Yeah.
When do you plan to use the free hit? Have you used it?
No, I still have all my chips left, including a triple captain chip. So
Okay, perfect. Perfect. So,
plan is
what is your strategy for the other two chips? When are you thinking? Loose thoughts.
yeah. So my loose thought is like as I told, game week 26 wild card, and then navigate with this structure which we mentioned just now, and then use the free hit in game week 34 or 37, depending on 29 is bench boost, which I'll do as shown in this graph, and the other two chips is like triple captain, and the free hit is depends on how things are 34 and
Interesting.
37. I'm keeping it open. Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Perfect. I think this looks, much more. It looks very attractive to me now. Right now that I can see there's a very good plan ahead. Right, especially knowing that there is so much complexities right in the week. Right, if I'm not doing a wild card now, I have to really go through the fixtures, keep taking moves, taking hits, and taking hits to move out of players, right? So it's going to be a lot of noise, taking those decisions. And with short-term decisions, there's always a way it backfires, right? Like we saw with the Liverpool move, right? If you're moving in just for 1 week, it backfires. So with a wild card, you are setting up things in a much smoother way, at least for the next 6 weeks. And I like taking less decisions in FPL, to be honest. The lesser number of decisions we take, the lesser mistakes we make. Simple as that, right? And this helps us.
Agreed, agreed. And one thing to know about this wildcard plan is like we have an international break between 28 and 29, which may go against us because this will be the first break after the World Cup and most players will be up for it, and we don't know how they will be returning or they'll be rested in between or not. That is a big thing to be noted.
So when is the international break? Is it 28?
Yeah, 28 after the 28. Yeah.
Okay, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a big rider, right? So you are hoping and praying into that game week 29 that everyone looks well, comes back fine. But how many internationals do you have? If I look at your team for 29, I don't think when me goes, Trippier goes outside, right? Mings maybe. James, okay. So you have three English defenders, right? All three might be outside, though there's a probability that James gets rested a bit, right? Fernandez goes, Rashford goes, Madison does not go. That's a good one. Nacho, more or less, I think. I am not sure whether they have fixtures in Africa. If yes, he goes. Watkins does not go. Haaland goes. Okay, it's a risky move there, right? Because now I can see the core of your
Particularly
team.
bench boost 20, it is risky. Yeah.
Yeah,
You need 15 players for the bench boost. It is
correct.
risky.
The core is traveling, right? You have like good number of players who are traveling. I think Estupinian will not be traveling. Mitoma, I don't know whether Japan has fixtures, right? March may not be traveling, right? So, but still, you have around 9 players traveling, and that's a huge risk, right? You never know what happens. And one thing that I would say is a con of this move is you are generally what I like to do is whenever I'm taking such risks, right, going for even if Brentford or Brighton are good teams, they're not consistent teams, right? So you never know whether they'll give you returns, they'll not give you returns. They will over a midterm, they might not do over a short term, right? So a good thing that I like is when I go for such moves, I have a wildcard to bail me out, right? But when you're using a wildcard to get into such moves, you don't have anything to bail you out. So if it backfires, it backfires. There's no other way for you to cover
Take this
yourself.
route. Yeah, yeah, agreed. And the thing with having the wildcard little later is the game week, like you mentioned, most big teams will be doubling in 34, and game week 34 bench boost makes more sense because for the game week 29 bench boost, you will have the international break just before it happening, and you may require a hit or two to get again the like -8 to field 15 doublers or 13 doublers for Haaland and Saka. So I think for 34 after 33 we'll just have the 34, there is no break in between, and that is a major thing. Yeah,
Okay.
so
Okay, so we actually have another draft to discuss, but we're really, really running out of time. We're nearly touching an hour mark, so we need
Yeah.
to speed up because we have a lot of other topics to cover. So for more drafts and to understanding it a bit more in depth, we'll be posting a link in the description that will redirect to our blog. The article is posted on Gaming 26 wildcard drafts and event chip strategies that we'll be discussing later. So now let's obviously go on to the next topic. That's obviously the chip strategy combinations that we could ideally use here at this point. And this is more or less the summary that we have again discussed so far.
yeah, so this is the summary which we discussed. Like 26 wildcard we have discussed, 27 wildcard we have also covered. The another one is the game week 28 wildcard, which I'm not a big fan of just because of the blank game week and then the bench boost in game week 29, because it is like very tricky to make a team for that, because there are 7 teams who we have right now to have fixture in 28 and double in 29. So that would be the plan to attack the game with 20, those 7 teams. But the thing is, those 7 teams are not very consistent, or like they are mid-table teams. You don't have the big teams there among those 7 teams who have picture in 20 and double in 29. So I'm not a big fan of that, but that is still one to ponder on. And the other one is the game week 29 wildcard. If you just have the wildcard, I think it is really a good move to attack the like till the end of the season. If you have more and more information, it can help you to navigate. And yeah, game week 29 wildcard, and then free hit in game week 32, and then bench boost in 34. So that we can attack the teams that double in 29 and 34 as well. So and use the bench boost in 34. That is another strategy. Another one is free hitting in 29 for the big double with 11 good double game week players, and then wildcard in 33, and then bench boost in 34, like we discussed before. Another one is the wildcard in 33, bench boost in 34, and free hit in 37. So that will be really huge. Like towards the final stretch of the season, like you can catch up the ranks properly. You can catch up the ranks. And the other one is free hit in 28, wildcard 33, bench boost 34, which we have already discussed. The final one is the bench boost in 29. Uh, Even without
Without
using a chip, like yeah, if your teams are that really well set up, maybe yeah, that's a that's a one to think on. And free hit in 32 and wildcard in 34, which will help you to set up for the rest of the season. This
yeah,
is a quick summary.
cool.
What's your plan, Sankalp? Like, where are you right now? What's your strategy?
See, my initial thoughts, it's not team dependent, right? I think I've screwed up my team to move to the way I want to move, but I feel a optimum way is free hit 29, wildcard 33, bench boost 34. Primarily because I don't like to free hit in blank game weeks. Always feel that potential is less, right? And generally in double game weeks, the big teams have double game weeks and everyone goes for that big teams, right? This is the first time I've seen that, none of the big teams, apart from, I think United has a double game week, but most of the big teams have single game week, right? So you have a lot of small teams and the talent pool is very high. So free hit gives me that potential to, pick players from a lot more variety of, talent pool and go for it. I feel, you can try out a lot of diverse options knowing that it's just for 1 week and they're all, free hitting. I can try out the likes of, Bournemouth players like we spoke about, Leicester players, and know that it's just for 1 week. So I can go for riskier punts. So I'm really liking that thought of free hitting in 29. And if I do free hit in 29, it doesn't make sense for me to wildcard now. I would rather save that, right? And that will define my strategy. So that one is something that I would like to do, but I don't think my team is that well, so, sorted for me to do that strategy. So I'm still in two minds. I think from my team point of view, it makes sense to do what you are doing, but I like that angle a lot. Let's see, what I finally take a call on.
Yeah. To play devil's advocate, like the only main issue with the game with 29 free hit is I'm not sure what you will do with Haaland and Saka or Odegaard, because they are have single
I
game
will
weeks.
back
Like
play
Haaland is
one.
up against Liverpool at home and Saka is up
I'll
against
drop
Leeds at home.
I'll
So
drop Haaland for sure. I'll drop Haaland for sure. Max, I can play Saka again because I'm an Arsenal fan, and also because Leeds at home is generally a good playing fixture, right? So I will have Max one player from a single game week, right? I'll not go for Haaland for sure, and I'll go for 12, 11, 10 doubles or 11 doubles. I might even bench Saka. That is a bigger call. Someone can backfire, but I think there's a good upside. I mean, I'm a fun-loving FPL manager, right? So I feel that there's a lot more fun going a free hit and
Agreed, agreed. Yeah. Aditya, what's your chip plan right now, like for your team? What do you have in mind?
Well, one of the strategy that I more or less follow every year is to maybe wildcard around 33. I think that's the one. Wildcard in 33, bench push in 34, and I like to use the free hit towards the end, where it's like now or never a time, right? It happens when I like everybody has like I want to finish in so and so place, and you need to go for it all out. So that's the time I kind of like that. But obviously, last season and even this season, I think wildcard 26 bench boost 29 free hit 32 is also good. Or wildcard 26 bench boost 29, navigate 32 and free hit in 34 is also good if you're able to do that. So I think that would be probably one of the best moves. But if you're able to do it smartly, but obviously the draw will help us reveal more things for 32 at this point. But I would like to navigate these few weeks now and hold on to my those last three ships for the end. It's where I'm like kind of leaning towards at this point.
Correct.
So I think we've kind of briefly touched upon this. Next, let's I think quickly go on obviously to this one of the key topics that's been floating around. Is obviously Brighton midfielder. Like who do we go after? Obviously, we have Mitoma, March, and Mac Allister here. So kind of confusing, right? Which M to go for?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the stats as well, right? There's the a name that you have been hearing a lot is Mac Allister over the last 2 weeks. But if you look at his returns over the last 5 or 6 weeks, right, you see that it has gone down. In fact, yeah, I had to check the website, 2 to 3 times. I'm like, is it correct? Is it something wrong? I've been hearing so much Mac Allister, right? 1.75 points, per start, and then I went back and checked. Yeah, it's all he has given is two 1 pointer, 2 pointer, 1 pointer, right? On the other hand, both Mitoma and March are doing really well, right? Again, March has a small injury concern, right? We have to also see something, and Mitoma is playing a lot wider over the last 3 weeks, right? So I'm not sure if helps, but I'm just looking at the metrics. Good thing is, all the midfielders have a positive metric, right? Compared to game week 1 to 16, Mitoma only had 2 matches in between, 2 starts. This is per start metric, so he had only 2 starts in game week 1 to 16. He has picked up really well. He's playing wider, but again, Mitoma is always lively. If you look shots, touches in the box, right? It's so high now. It's 6.75. It's higher than March and McAllister, in fact, right? Fairly stronger, right? And if I look at his heat map, also you see it's so close to the goal, right? Even though he's a winger. But last 2 matches, we have seen that diverge a bit. He started playing a bit wider, and that's where the what the manager does, what Deserby does, is going to impact the kind of points that we get, right? That's the only issue with a Brighton midfielder is you cannot predict who plays where. Who you can predict is March. March has a very similar style. If you look at game week 1 to 16, fairly same. One game week 17 to 22, fairly same, right? He's doing exactly the same things. It's just that his returns has gone up higher, the quality is higher, right? If I see the touches in the box, slight increase there, right? So he's doing the same things. XG slight increase, XA is a strong increase. Now, if I look at his XA and big chances created, there's a strong increase. So there's a good attacking element there that we can see is there compared to any other player. Mitoma or McAllister, he's really, really strong in assists, creating potential, right? Something that will give you points for sure. And he generally gets into the right positions is something that whenever I've seen Brighton play, right, they will keep the ball towards Mitoma and suddenly they will switch it, to March, and that's where March comes in and attacks. Even though his touches in the box is much lesser than that of Mitoma, but I feel it's significant because the XG is fairly similar to Mitoma, right? Even if he's taking less touches, the XG is fairly similar. The shots in box is same shots in box they're attempting, right? So overall picture, I feel March is the solid guy. If I know he's fit, he's a guy I will go for. Mac Allister is a curious case because if you look at his, per start metrics, points are not there for sure. Right? If you're looking for a punty second Brighton midfielder, I think he's a guy that I can look at. If you look at he's attempting 2 shots per match now on target, right? Whereas this is almost twice that of Mitoma or March. He's getting one big chance per match, which is again twice that of March, right? So all these metrics have suddenly shot up because of the way he's getting involved, and this is just to know this is a low sample of 2 matches, which has screwed up the data for us, right? So ideally, I would like to start with March. I would not like to start with someone like McAllister. That's like too crazy a move for me. But if I want to have 2 midfielders and I say I don't have money for March and Mitoma, or I want to try something punty, I'll do that second midfielder to McAllister. Right. Very. If you look at the heat map, also it's scattered now because he's played across 2 different positions, and that's the reason heat map is unable to capture where he's playing predominantly. If you're lucky and he continues to play as number 10, I think he's a good second Brighton midfielder to have. But I'll take the safer option. I'll go with March this time.
Yeah, very well summarized. Like you sold me on March right now. I was totally confused. So I think I'm going for March as the sure pick, and then maybe like I think I'll go for Mitoma just to have more
Uh,
fun watching the game. Like it's fun, right? Having Mitoma in your team and watching the game. So I think,
Definitely.
and his XG is also he overperforms his XG generally. Like he shoots really well, and there is always the potential to get points. So I'm leaning towards March and Mitoma right now. And to be noted, like the last FA Cup game, like we spoke at the start of the pod, like Mac Allister didn't play as a 10. He was playing back. So that is the thing to be noted. I don't want to take the risk and over next 4 5 games, I don't know, like 2 games he starts as 10 and then 3 games he starts as a CM. So I don't want to take that risk. I genuinely want to have fun and I think March and Mitoma are my picks.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay. We can move on to the next topic.
The next one is obviously Watkins versus Tony. If you have to pick one of them, that's again solely dependent on how you want to attack. But obviously, we have few numbers here up on our screen. And this is from Gameweek 125, and so officially assist potential we have Watkins with almost like 9 chances created, Tony with 5. But one thing that is that Watkins has outscored him since game week 17, and the number of attempts are almost nearly the same. But over the next few games, rather for both of them, is that I think it's most favor for Watkins based on what numbers I could get. Is that Palace have considered the most amount of headed attempts since game week 17. That's about 35, and most shots on target with 55. And Bournemouth have let in the most amount of shots. That's around 150. So both of these numbers are favoring Watkins here because I think they play Palace and Bournemouth over the next 3 weeks. But Tony, on the other hand, is the best option to hit game week 27. So it's I think it's a very clear answer here what we have. If you can accommodate both, that's the best. If you want to look at a short run, then I think Tony is the best. Looking at game week 27, obviously Watkins has a double in 29. And if Tony gets suspended, then you get in Watkins. That's it. I think that's how people are going to do.
Fair, fair. I think they are the best to go for, right? Without doubt. If you have Haaland, you want to go three forwards, then these are the 2 people you should pick first, for sure, without money concerns, right?
Sure. Yeah. To summarize, like, if you want, you should go. It's not versus Watkins. It should be Watkins and Tony. And if you just want to go for one immediately, I think Tony is the pick for 26 and 27. And then for 28 and 29, maybe switch to Watkins because Tony has a tough double in 29, and we don't know what will be the status of yellow card. So for now, Tony, and then 28, 29 Watkins.
Okay, okay.
So I think we've covered up this. Let's go to the next slide. That obviously we have the captaincy choices that are more or less available for us over the next few weeks. And we have a lot of debates here. Finally, that's non-Haaland is what is popping up a lot now.
Who is the first captaincy, option, regardless of fixture? It used to be Haaland for us. Is it still Haaland for you, or is it Rashford?
Haaland for me.
Okay, okay. Aditya, for you?
I think it was one of the weeks where Rashford outscored Haaland, and I still kept in Haaland. I think that's what happens, right? Last few seasons, it's like it was Salah, 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 Salah. Now that this fear has gone, inside our heads, like even though there is a good chance of the other guy outscoring, but with all these numerous data available, effective ownership, and all those things, people, EO used to be not even told to people like 5 season back. Like, who used to care about EO? Yeah, this guy is a good fixture. He's been playing well. I captain him. Now you're like, oh no, 10 people are also captaining him. If I don't, I might lose my rank. And all those other things are influencing decisions.
So live
So I
FPL
think
has pampered us a lot, right? Has over pampered us now, given us too much data. It makes sense, but in my mind, I feel like Rashford is the best option now. Right? United play in a way that supports him. United are playing really well. I think United are now the best attacking team ahead of Arsenal and City. Right, the way they are playing, right? Arsenal and City still have some niggles here and there, right? We are winning matches, but we are not that fluid attacking team that were there in the first half, right? And that's why United look to me the best asset. Rashford is the top way, or only way they look to attack normally. Whenever they look to counter, they just look where Rashford is running and put the ball there, right? So, and he's in such a good form that he's finishing, right? So for me, if there's no fixture in mind, I would go for Rashford now. For me, in my mind, I'm clear it's Rashford, Haaland, and then someone else. With fixtures, Game Week 26, I think, is a tricky one. I think Newcastle at home is not an easy one, and Newcastle defenders will match Haaland in the air everywhere, right? That's how Newcastle play, right? They have kept 6'4", 6 foot, six guys. They will hassle him, they will push him, they will do everything. They will not let him score easily. Even if he scores, it will not be a brace for sure or a hat trick, right? So the potential is there for us to try out something new. I think both Saka and Rashford will give us points. There's a good certainty about Rashford, right? I know he'll definitely score a goal. So if you go, I think Rashford is the safer option. Saka is the, we don't know what will happen, but it's Bournemouth, so why don't we try out kind of option? And at home it is, so I might go for someone like Saka, but I feel if I have to pick someone, right, no risk attached, it's Rashford against Liverpool as well, for sure, for me.
Right. My thoughts was like I thought on general if you're talking about captaincy, the only fear of not going with Haaland is Rashford. You can say like he'll get 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 goals in a game. But the issue with Haaland is he may get 4 goals in a game easily. So that's the general thought process of not fearing not go with Haaland. But like for game week 26, as you told, it's a very open captaincy. I see Newcastle as a team who will not concede more than three for sure because they have solid good defenders who are good in the air and who are technically also strong defensively, and Pope will also be back, I think. So I think it will be it's not a game where City will be scoring 3 or 4 easily, and I think I may go towards Saka for game week 26.
Perfect, perfect. And
for me to
27,
quickly answer this also,
yeah.
is that for 26, it's the irony is that I will say Saka for 26. Obviously, I think that's it's a no-brainer with Arsenal playing at home, and an Arsenal fan is saying that United going to Anfield is the best option. So there's a lot of contradiction here. But other than
And
that,
a
I
City
think
fan
United.
not captaining Haaland, so
Yes, all we've got all the options. People will be very happy that we're having a very democratic stream here. But other than that, one thing is that in terms for United's perspective, very quickly to answer here, We're going to play away at Anfield. Obviously, we need to play a game today, the FA Cup game. That's going to, probably show how consistent we are. Obviously, we managed to beat Barca home and away. Uh, we kind of won the Carabao Cup or Mickey Mouse Cup, whatever people want to call, whatever that is. It's fine, but how consistent we are is going to show. I think today we'll see rotations from Tenak for sure. But in Anfield, it's a totally different atmosphere. No matter who you are, as soon as you enter Anfield, that's a different game. The crowd, the atmosphere itself completely will overtake you. So that's a tough game. No matter a 20th place team goes or the first place team goes, that's going to be a different difficult game. But for 27, I think it's straight away Rashford for me. Obviously because of Southampton. But if you have Tone, that's a different story. For people who don't get in Tone, that's the thing. Okay, just don't carry it away that I said Rashford first. It's just that if you get in Tone, obviously that's the option. If not, then Rashford. I mean, that's what I would
What
like to
will you
say.
do, Srini? Because you are on a wild card. You will have all these guys, right? You will have Tony, you will have Brighton midfielder, you'll have Haaland, Saka, Rashford. Where will you go with your captaincy?
If Tony is still on 8 yellow cards and and we get good news about the betting charges, I think it will be surely Tony for the game
Okay,
week 27.
makes sense. Makes sense. Perfect. Uh,
Yeah, so and
So,
I think that
yep.
this is the week where we may we are not seeing Haaland. Like that's the thought of uh, not having Haaland in the game week 26 wildcard teams that like we are not going to captain him for 4 weeks straight because 29 is another double where you are going to mostly captain not someone other than Haaland. Because 4 weeks you are not captaining your player, and are you willing to take that risk if someone on a game week 26 wildcard? What do you think?
Yeah, I know. I think this is one of the questions that we have received today as well. I saw it somewhere. Someone asked, can we go for a team without Haaland? I think if you're not captaining him, it makes sense, right, to try out different things. The only thing is, I mean, game week 29, I'm pretty confident not having Haaland is okay because US plays Liverpool again. Van Dijk will be on Haaland, right? It will not be a lot of goals for sure, right? So that way, I'm pretty more confident, right? Game week 28 is when do City blank in game week 28? See?
Yeah,
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 so
they
game
do.
week 28 also the blank, right? Now it makes things easier, right? I don't think I'm captaining Haaland Palace away as well. Not an easy fixture. I don't think I'm captaining Haaland Newcastle at home. If I am doing a game week 26, wild card, right? I would rather take out Haaland now. I know money is not a problem because none of us will go for Salah, KDB, right, or even the Liverpool fullback. So you have a lot of money in the game. So it's not about money, but I would rather keep that money in the bank and go for someone that third mid forward, right, Tony, Watkins, and someone else, and see who I can use, knowing that my captaincy is pretty well set. I think if I'm looking at it today, I'll go for Saka. I might do a Brighton midfielder or a Rashford in the game week 27. And then game week 28, I think I will go for Tony against Leicester, right? So fairly comfortable not captaining Haaland in any of these games. And then it makes sense for me to take those risks. If you are going for a wild card and you're looking for a high upside, I think this is the best way to do it, right? Go all the way.
Yeah, yeah. Well summarized. Yeah.
Yeah, so, go all the way. We'll go straight away to our worst teams at this point.
Yeah,
So,
this is my team. As you can see, I fell into that trap, that Liverpool trap. Heard so positive things from everyone. Just I went for Trent, Gapco, and Darwin. The reason I went for Gapco is I wanted to bring in Odegaard for the double game week as well. So I did this. I don't think I'll be if I'm not on a wild card. I don't think I'll be making any moves. I'll be saving my transfer because I'm okay, with Liverpool players playing United guys because I think someone will score. I expect it to be a high scoring game. So I would just let them play it out, see who gives me more points, and then use that input for game week 27 at least. That's the thought currently.
Yeah, you are confident having both Darwin and Nketiah.
Nketiah will go on bench for me unless he doesn't play this week. If he doesn't play this week, then I know he doesn't play. He will play Bournemouth home. Then it's a bit tricky for me to decide who to play. Right? I know
Bench.
Liverpool, Newcastle at home is not good. I might bench Grealish for a week and see, how things turn out. I might do that. But Darwin, I'm confident because Darwin is already fit. We have got the news, right? So fitness is no longer a problem. He plays United at home. He plays Bournemouth away. I'm confident playing him, right? Even if I'm not wildcarding, I'm confident playing him. Eddie is someone that I'll have to move out and I'll look for replacement. Where I can take that money. I'll upgrade it to someone for sure.
And this is my team with the Liverpool triple up: Trent, Salah, Darwin, and all the other players. I think I'm 90% on a wild card. I'm still not yet confirmed. Disclaimer alert. But yeah, but if I will be wild carding, it will be one of the drafts which more or less one of the drafts which is stored on the stream. And if I'm not wild carding, I think I'll be moving out. I don't know. I'll be moving out probably Patterson or Bruno. Like I have money in the bank, so I'll be moving them out for a Brentford defender.
Makes sense.
Now, I have one concern that I need to ask Srini. That's what do I do with Maris? So, Maris is on my bench as a first sub at this point because I really don't know. I don't know whether Pep is as a different what do they call it? Flavor of the season, right? They keep on changing it. So now he doesn't want Maris. So what do you think? Has he lost his place, or he's giving Foden a chance, or what's the exact thing going on there?
I don't know. I think he's still very much first team player. Not like he's still ahead of Foden in the ranks. But I think so. Like with Foden, Foden is slowly get back to his old self. And Grealish is undroppable at the moment. Like he has started like 9, 10 games in all competitions in a row. Grealish is close to undroppable. And yeah, so like before, so I think it is between Foden and Mares, and Mares was played in the UCL game and then was benched in the Premier League game, and so it is a bit tricky. He again started in the cup game yesterday, Mares, and Foden came on as a sub. So it does sorry, Foden also started the game, so it is a bit tricky. I think I'll hold him for one more week maybe, and then see. Or if you're and then get a Brighton mid for him, like to see you'll know the better Brighton mid, and with the latest injury. So I'll hold him for one more week, and then get a Brighton mid next week for him.
So this is what I'm on at the moment. I don't know. I think I may maybe bench Shaw for Maris. I don't know what to do exactly because I really need him to play. There's no point. I'm more or less inclined to roll my transfer, and it will give me an option to maybe get in Tony for NKT and downgrade Maris to Brighton mid is what I'm thinking at this point. But
I, I'll
obviously,
play Maras or Trippier this week, and then like you told, remove NKTI and Maras next week.
hmm, so that's what I'm looking at this point. And I mean, we'll see what happened. I mean, there's still a lot of time with the deadline, and immediately people will look at other managers and like, okay,
And
even I'm going to
tonight's
wildcard.
matches also will give us some idea, right? If tonight Liverpool plays really well, it solves a lot of our problems, right? So let's wait out for that factor at least before we take that call.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah,
need some positive points back, right, for the hits.
Correct. Uh,
So
I am still on -12 from the -12 I have taken last week, so I want to recover that -12 tonight at least.
okay.
Perfect.
So I think let's
Clear your
quickly cover up
questions.
some questions and we'll wrap it up. We are already about like close to 90 odd minutes, almost an entire football game we've played here just by speaking. So let me see. Okay, what this is answer. Let me see.
Pin
Okay,
some of the
here's one.
points.
The likes of João Felix, Iheanacho, Watkins, Toney, all having a gaming 20 W29. His topic is now to sell Erling Holland in gaming 28 and reverse it back in game week 30.
If you have a good risk appetite, yes, definitely. I'm pretty much okay with it. Right? If you're doing wildcard, go have fun. That's the idea for me. Right? Srin is
Yeah,
in agreement.
yeah, in agreement. Especially remembering in gaming 28, between gaming like the question in mentioned, it's for just for 28 and 29, and we have lots of fun. So value is not a big problem for us right now. So gaming
Correct.
28 and 29, Haaland has one game, and these guys have three games, and you're not going to captain Haaland in that one game. So
And he plays Liverpool. It's not an easy fixture as well.
yeah, yeah. So three fixtures was one, and you're not going to captain. So I think it is worth the risk. Surely, yeah.
Obviously, this one I think is a pretty straightforward. Just got Salah and Allison as game week. I think the whole obviously it's based on tonight's
What
result.
match today?
Yeah.
Yeah, what match
Unless you
today?
are on a wildcard hold.
Yeah. This is the next one is that he has Kepa, Ward, and this is the entire team short repair, Bueno, White, Tarkowski. Midfield, Salah, Saka, Odegaard, Mitoma, and Rashford forward is Nunes, Haaland, and Noto. Will you suggest to do a wildcard or use free transfer? I will read one.
Tricky depends. Like it's a good team. It won't necessarily need a wild card. Maybe a free transfer and -4 will do, or even rolling a transfer may do because it is really tricky. I think it depends on what are all the other chips you have and how do you want to attack the season. Like if you have your free left and wild card is also there, I think you can save it. Again, you can save it anyways because yeah, the team is good.
You can go both ways, right? I think, like we discussed, the pros and cons of 26 is there in front of you. We have showed it, right? Now that you know the pros and cons, up to you want to attack, you go attack. If you don't want to attack, also, I think you have fairly good amount of money in the middle with Salah and all, and you can play it out. You'll be able to, play out without much problem, right? So take that call, Aishwarya. But I think now you should have a good idea about, what is the pro of doing a wildcard now, at least, right? And if it is looking really attractive for you, go for it.
And if you're wildcarding or not, either ways you should have a plan. Like if you're wildcarding, what you're going to do in 32 and 34, just think about it. If you're not going to wildcard, when will you using the chips? Just have a rough idea on it.
Well, I think we've kind of covered most of the questions that were unique or different. I think some of them are the ones that we've actually covered throughout our discussion so far. So I think so that brings us to the end of this stream. Maybe sort of not exactly a Game Week 26 previously, but rather a Game Week 26 chip strategy or a wildcard draft or basically whatever you're really thinking stream. That brings us to the end. Hopefully, we will see you all next week. Actually, after KV26 is done, we'll actually we will find out how many of us actually end up wildcarding, saying that no, we will roll with a -4, a -8, and all those things, and it will actually end up with a wildcard. Be fascinating to see if you wildcard and whether Haaland survives or we actually get in different differentials. What happens with Ivan Toney is an interesting story that we'll know next week. More of that we'll know next week, I guess. So thanks to Sankalp and Srini for taking time to join. Obviously, it's a long discussion, over close to about 95 odd minutes. To like, share, and subscribe. We're seeing a lot of you guys are actually tuning to us but are not subscribing. Obviously, that is, we all know how YouTube works, and that's kind of not, pushing us in the right direction. So if you do like our content, please do, help us out here. So that brings us to the end. Hopefully, we see you guys. See you all, guys, next week. Yeah.